Hello everybody, this is Karina Rendon and I am giving my persuasive speech. The private ownership of exotic animals should be federally banned. Did you know that there are more captive tigers in the United States than there are in the wild? Today you will learn about the conditions that come with the ownership of exotic animals. There should be a strong federal ban against the ownership of exotic animals to protect the public and to protect the animals. According to the World Wildlife Fund, in 2014, there was an estimated 5,000 captive tigers in the United States and approximately 3,200 in the wild. This speech is about the dangers posed by exotic animals to the health and safety of the public, the reasons why people keep them, and bans the states have against the ownership of exotic animals. Bear, tiger, and lion cubs are cute and cuddly until they grow into huge carnivorous beasts. Everyone has thought of owning a monkey, right? As cute as they are, exotic animals should not be kept as pets. The dangers of owning exotic pets. Exotic pets are threats to public safety because they can attack their owners and caregivers or others. According to the Animal Legal and Historical Center, in 2014 there have been nearly 2,000 violent incidents between captive exotic animals and humans in the last 2 decades. For example, CBS Local in New York reported the death of a woman who was bit by her pet black mamba, the deadliest snake in the world, and was found to have a collection of 75 snakes. Exotic pets are threats to public health because they can have diseases that can be spread between animals and even to humans. The Animal Legal and Historical Center states that zoonotic diseases transfer from animals to humans. Scientists from the CDC estimate that 1 out of every 6 infectious diseases in humans is spread by animals. For example, the most common bred monkey in the United States is also the most common carrier for herpes B virus. So if exotic animals are so dangerous, why do people own them? People keep exotic animals as pets because it's cool or just because they can afford it. Mostly people think that by having these wild and dangerous animals, they are saving them. But the private ownership of exotic animals does more harm than good. In his brief article, Louis Thoreau wrote, "Often owners do not reflect on the long-term needs or behaviors of wild animals." So what happens to these animals? They often end up in cages or in chains and without the proper care or diet. In an interview for the Talk of the Nation, Dr. Jane Goodall, a primatologist and founder of her own institute, states that most zoos won't accept animals because they have been humanized and won't know how to behave in their species societies. And the same goes for animals being released into the wild. Once these animals have gotten too big or have become violent, they are often taken to rescue shelters or they are euthanized. In an article from the Philadelphia Inquirer, Carol Asvestas said, her wild animal orphanage in San Antonio has over 100 big cats, and it costs about $5,500 to feed each one. A wildlife rescue is the best fate for an overgrown exotic animal, or an exotic animal that has become violent. In some violent instances, exotic animals are even killed in shootouts. On one fateful Tuesday in October 2011, Ohio police killed 56 exotic animals on a reserve after the owner set them free prior to committing suicide. Incidents like the one in Ohio have led to calls for stronger and more laws on the private ownership of exotic animals. The laws against the private ownership of exotic animals are weak. Exotic animal smugglers find creative ways to sneak these creatures into our country. The World Wildlife Fund states that wildlife smugglers are routinely caught smuggling exotic snakes, lizards, turtles, and birds on international flights. As the exotic pet trade continues to thrive as a market worth billions of dollars, what is being done to end this cruel trade? In the 1970s, a program called Traffic was created to ensure the trade of wild animals and plants is not a threat to the conservation of nature. Traffic works with and trains airline personnel to intercept the smuggling of endangered and exotic species. There are few federal laws regarding the ownership of exotic animals because the authority to regulate this issue belongs to state governments. The federal government can only regulate this issue through the Commerce Clause. The 3 federal laws in accordance to this issue are described by the Animal Legal and Historical Center. These laws are the Lacey Act, or the Captive Wildlife Safety Act, the Endangered Species Act, and the Animal Welfare Act. The different state bans are total or facial bans, partial bans, licensure schemes, and miscellaneous regulations. 20 states have facial or comprehensive bans. 13 states have a partial ban. 14 states permit private ownership under a licensure scheme. And 4 states have miscellaneous regulations. But what do these bans mean? A total or facial ban means that a person may not possess, harbor, sell, barter, transfer, exchange, or import any wild animal for use as pet. A partial ban bans specific animals and focuses on banning large, dangerous animals and big cats. Licensure schemes allow certain animals but require applications, registrations, and nominal fees. Miscellaneous regulations regard certain aspects of the private ownership of exotic animals, which regulates exotic animal ownership for purposes of public exhibitions. Even though almost all the states now have some type of laws or bans on private ownership of exotic pets, the exotic pet trade continues to thrive. Because each state has different regulations on exotic pets, people still own, breed, sell, and smuggle exotic animals. In conclusion, it is dangerous to the public health and safety to own exotic animals as pets. They cause violent attacks and deadly diseases. People own these dangerous animals to save them, but don't realize they are doing more harm than good. Because these animals can't go back to the wild, they live out their lives in captivity. To end the exotic pet trade and ownership, many states have issued different bans, but it is not enough. The federal government can only regulate if the animals are being used for commercial purposes due to the Commerce Clause. In order to end the private ownership and trade of exotic animals, there needs to be a strong federal ban. To make such a difficult movement happen at a federal level, every voice counts. You should use your voice for the animals that don't have one. The current act in Congress waiting to be passed is the Big Cat Safety Act. Make a difference and participate in the government to get this passed. We must help to protect exotic and endangered animals. Carol Baskin can't do this on her own. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.